and extreme animals. But some animals are more extreme than others. Join us as we count down to find the most unusual and the most extraordinary on Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Number 10.
In a democracy, everyone has a chance to vote for a new leader. But things are very different in the natural world. Instead of elections, animals often have to use violence to gain power, because in the wild, might is usually right. Especially for our first contender, the ultimate leader of the pack. Charging in to number 10 in the countdown is the wolf. This male is top dog, but he doesn't hunt alone. Under the alpha male's control, the pack members work together to raise their young and can hunt prey often 10 times larger than they are. Together, they can run down a single victim, using their numbers to attack from all sides. Because teamwork is such a central part of the pack's survival, strict rules have been developed to maintain social harmony. There's a chain of command, and the alpha male is definitely boss. If you understand the wolf's body language, it's easy to see who's in charge. The alpha male walks around confidently with his tail and ears raised. He dominates by throwing his weight around, standing over subordinates. A submissive wolf tries to make itself as non-threatening as possible. It covers its teeth, narrows its eyes, and pulls the corners of its mouth back into a friendly grin. It rolls on its back, whines, squeals, and even tries to lick the muzzle of the boss. Pups act the same way when trying to get their parents to regurgitate food. By acting infantile, the subordinate wolf is clearly demonstrating it recognizes just who's boss. There's a good reason why every wolf knows its place in the hierarchy. Those savage jaws could easily do serious damage to one of their own. That's why when tempers flare, ritualized displays of dominance help wolves settle conflicts before they end in bloodshed. Since the wolf pack is usually a family group, it makes sense that the leaders rarely wound or kill their own kin. Just like any family, parents need to establish boundaries with their children to control bad behavior. Not surprisingly, the same leadership roles are found today in the wolf's domestic descendants. There was a time when these fearsome predators competed with humans for food. And then, perhaps 100,000 years ago, we started inviting wolves into our camp, and so the domestication of the dog began. Today's dogs treat other dogs and their human companions in much the same way as wolves treat one another in the wild. And that's why, in some houses, it can be a battle to find out just who's the boss. Meet Bugsy. This is Bugsy's couch, and nothing Doug does will shift him.
Hey, you. Hey, can I sit here? Can I sit here? Can I have the remote? Can I have the remote? Ugh. This is not the dog couch. Thanks. Oh, sorry. I'm in your way. There you go.
In this house, Bugsy is definitely top dog. And that's why Doug's called in animal behavior specialist Victoria Wells.
Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Good.
Once again, he's doing his own thing.
Doing his own thing. He's back to doing his own thing.
Is this why I'm over here? So tell me, what's going on?
As you see, he's taking over the couch.
Yes, yes, and he's getting bigger and bigger,
Yes.
right? I think that he's displaying what some may call dominance, but what others might call a little pushy behavior that I know you've displayed when you were a teenager.
right.
They're essentially saying, no, I will not get up off the couch. No, I will not wait until you serve me my food. I will beg until you give me food. The key elements in stopping this behavior are, number one, setting up boundaries and limits.
Yeah, he needs those.
So if they're getting on the couch and they're not letting you move them, you've got to give them a timeout.
Okay, I guess you're not moving. I guess you're not moving. Come on, turn around.
You say, oh, no, you didn't. And then you send them to their room for 30 seconds to a minute, and then you let them out. They jump on the couch again, you do it again.
Stay.
It's really important that for any privilege he gets, he has to work for it, just like an allowance.
Wait. 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 No. 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 Wait. Okay. Good boy.
You're the boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Does that help any?
That does help.
All right, Bugsy, did you hear that? He's the boss, applesauce.
You're getting ruled now. Sit. Sit. Oh, now we can watch TV.
Now Doug's back in charge. He gets the best seat in the house. That's because for humans, dogs, and wolves, there are some perks associated with being the boss.
Good boy. Good boy.
Not only does the alpha male get access to the best food, but he's also the one with the opportunity to breed. In return, he has to lead from the front when it comes to defending the pack from intruders. The alpha male may be top dog in the wolf pack, but he's only controlling a handful of family members, unlike leaders coming up in the countdown with hundreds, thousands, even millions of followers.
Number 9.
Imagine a world where if you wanted to become a leader, you'd have to change your gender. And it would take much more than just slapping on some lipstick and shaving your legs. You'd have to completely change your reproductive organs, just like the big shot at number 9 in the countdown. You can find him underwater in most of the world's oceans. He's not hard to see. He's big, colorful, and very aggressive. He's a type of fish called a wrasse. He completely dominates a harem of about a dozen lighter-colored females. He's a big bully and won't let anyone near his part of the reef. And yet this tough guy used to be a girl. In fact, all these wrasse started life as females. Even though these fish don't have separate sex chromosomes, they do carry the genetic blueprint for both genders. Most sexually mature wrasse suppress their maleness and live life as a female. It's only when the leader of the harem dies that one of the dominant females undergoes a sex change. She becomes a he, and the change is quick. After removing a male from his harem, researchers observed a female wrasse acting like a male within a matter of minutes. The complete gender alteration took only 8 days. This new male is ready to start bossing his harem around, just like another bossy boy coming up in the countdown.
If you thought our first 2 contenders let power go to their heads, just wait till you see what happens when the king of the jungle wears a...
Extreme Leaders continues in the forests of New Zealand. This is a land of birds. There was a time when it was thought that here, just like everywhere else in the world, birds had no leaders. After all, birds never really formed organized groups. Sure, they'd flock together, but they didn't really gang up to create a society. And then along came the bird flying in to number 8 in the countdown. This is the world's only alpine parrot, the kea. It lives high in the mountains where food can be scarce. Up here, all other parrots would starve if the cold didn't get them first. But the kea survives because this is no ordinary bird brain. It's smart and is able to store information on where to locate food, which can sometimes be a problem for unsuspecting campers. Recent research found that the kea is also smart enough to get others to do the dirty work. The kea has been called the bossiest bird in the world because it forms groups that are male-dominated, aggressive, and, unusually for a bird, organized in a hierarchy. It's been suggested that in the wild, the highest-ranking kea swoops in when the hard work's been done and helps itself to the food. The subordinates either step aside or get attacked. This is an extreme pecking order, a concept that was first discovered by a 6-year-old boy and his chickens. At the beginning of the last century, a young Norwegian was given a flock of chickens by his mother. He spent hours watching their behavior, and by the age of 10, started keeping detailed notebooks of their interactions. He noticed that some chickens dominated others, forming a kind of social hierarchy. His name was Torleif Skjelderupi, and years later he became a zoologist. He announced the results of his observations in a scientific paper in 1922. And that's how the world first learned of the idea of a pecking order. When it comes to pecking, chickens have nothing on the kea, thanks to that wickedly curved beak. It's a great weapon for a dominant bird to keep its subordinates in line. But the bird's social order isn't set in stone. A lower-ranked kea can rebel against the current leadership. Juvenile males will sometimes form an alliance to help each other gain higher status, thereby reaping the rewards of others' work. But when it comes to lazy leaders, not even the bossiest kea can compete with our next contender.
So far, we've seen bossy birds and ruling wrasse. But still to come, we'll meet a hairy strongman who was weak number 7.
In our countdown of the animal kingdom's most extreme leaders, our next contender can be found in cities all around the world. That's because when it comes to being a symbol of strength and power, the lion has been a roaring success. Weighing up to 500 pounds, the male lion really is the king of the jungle. Due to his size and brute strength, the male easily dominates the dozen or so related females and cubs that make up the average pride. But the smaller and lighter lioness is faster and more agile. For years, people thought the lioness did all of the pride's hunting. But we now know the male also helps bring home the bacon. However, the male's main job is to patrol his territory and protect his pride from other male lions and pesky hyenas. But regardless of who kills the prey, the male is always first to feed and really does take the lion's share. Males are also keen to let everyone know who's boss. That thundering roar can travel up to 5 miles, announcing to his rivals that this territory is taken. He uses a longer-lasting form of communication by spraying his personal scent onto plants. The smell's strategically placed at nose height so rivals can't miss it. His mane is another signal of his power, and the longer and darker it is, the better. A group of researchers in Tanzania tested the power of the mane by making a lion wear a wig. They fitted a stuffed dummy with a variety of haircuts and left the model in the wild so they could monitor the responses of real male lions. The experiment showed that rival males only approached the dummy when it was wearing a lighter, shorter mane, presumably because they found it less intimidating. Strangely enough, it's not just lions that find facial hair threatening. In ancient times, the beard was seen as a symbol of power and virility. If a mighty warrior lost his beard, it was a desperate tragedy. Some have suggested that facial hair helps to disguise the true nature of the chin. Heroes were always shown with impressively jutting jaws, while cowards were often portrayed as chinless wonders. A good beard could make anybody look suitably heroic. Throughout history, facial hair fashions have constantly changed. Today, most men have naked chins. Over 90% of American men shave at least 5 times a week and spend over $2 billion annually on shaving products. No lion would dream of shaving off his mane. After all, the sight of his magnificent head of hair is often enough to deter rivals. And that's a far better option than having to fight to defend both territory and honor, because leadership challenges often end in death. For a male lion, leadership is so stressful, it's a wonder that his mane doesn't turn gray, like the hair on our next contender.
Number 6.
In the forests of Central Africa, the top banana is a harmless vegetarian. Once thought to be the terror of the jungle, our next contender is the largest ape on the planet, the gorilla. A single mature male, or silverback, rules a band of about 20 younger males, females, and their offspring. Thanks to movies like King Kong, most people think ferocious gorillas would rip each other limb from limb. But despite their size and power, physical conflict is usually a last resort. Instead, gorillas use a body language learned at an early age. All young male gorillas have the potential to become leaders, but it's not until they're about 8 years old that they become physically intimidated. That's when their muscles develop, their canine teeth enlarge, and just like human teenagers, their raging hormones get them into all sorts of trouble. It's about this time that younger males are forced to leave the group, to wander the forest alone. Eventually, they may become big enough and wise enough to form their own band, or take control of someone else's by challenging fellow silverbacks. Once he gains control of a band of followers, life for the silverback becomes relatively peaceful. His main job is to decide where the group will rest and where it will sleep each evening. The silverback also has to plan the group's movement around their territory. Just one gorilla can eat up to 70 pounds of vegetation every day. So they're constantly moving through the 4 square miles of their territory to make the most of seasonal food resources. While it's a big responsibility finding food for a band of hungry gorillas, it's nothing compared to the problems associated with feeding our next contender. They can eat 500 pounds of vegetation each day.
While our last 2 leaders were males with big, hairy backs. Coming up, we'll discover that sometimes it's smooth-skinned females that make the best bosses. Number 5.
Our countdown of the most extreme leaders continues with the world's largest land animal, the elephant. But even though a male can weigh 7 tons and stand 13 feet tall, he's not the boss. Striding in to number 5 in the countdown is the mature female elephant called the matriarch. She's the leader of a family group made up of her adult female daughters and their immature male and female offspring. The matriarch's sisters, cousins, and their children sometimes join as well, bringing the total up to about 30 elephants. The only family members missing are the mature males. A bull is only allowed near the herd when he's courting a female. At this time, his testosterone levels can be 50 times higher than normal, making him touchy and unpredictable. And as soon as mating is over, the females will often kick him out of the herd to resume his solitary life. After all, the matriarch is more than capable of leading her family across the savanna and fending off dangerous predators. Would you want to get in the way of 3 tons of maniacal matriarch? And it seems that it's not only female elephants that make good leaders. A study conducted by Northwestern University in Illinois detected some differences in the way businessmen and women manage their employees. It seems that male bosses are more likely to simply reward the good and punish the bad. However, the study found that female bosses tend to manage by inspiring and nurturing employees, often developing their abilities to their full potential. Being female is definitely an advantage in the heady world of elephant politics, but so is age. The matriarch's life experience has taught her how to deal with predators, droughts, and death. The older the leader, the more likely she is to lead the herd away from trouble. This is one elephant that never forgets, and her knowledge of water holes and feeding grounds is passed from one generation to the next. Female elephants are such great leaders that they can even boss around a completely different species. In 1975, a young elephant was orphaned when her herd was killed by poachers. A farmer rescued the calf and called her Nzao. He took her home, where she grew up in the company of a herd of buffalo. She thought the buffalo were her family, so just like any matriarch, she became queen of the buffalo. This meant she became fiercely protective of her strange family, and that caused a few problems. During the mating season, male buffalo become very aggressive towards the females as part of the courting ritual. Unfortunately, Nzao didn't like grumpy males and kicked them out of the herd, which must be the ultimate example of girl power.
Number 4.
Our countdown of extreme leaders continues in the tropical paradise of Tahiti. Because here, there was a time when if you wanted to be the big cheese, you had to be big. Very big. When European explorers first arrived in Tahiti, they discovered that the highest-ranking families were plump. Their young men and women were literally fattened up. They were shut away in a hut and fed copious amounts of food. That's because on some islands, fat is beautiful. Especially when you're the animal lumbering in to number 4 in the countdown, the elephant seal. It gets its name from that floppy nose and its enormous size. A mature bull can be 16 feet long and weigh 5,000 pounds. That's because if he wants to be a leader, then size really matters. Every spring, the males arrive at their breeding grounds hoping to attract the attention of as many females as possible. But creating and maintaining a harem is hard work. A successful bull has to constantly fight off challenges from other males. Those razor-sharp canine teeth can slice deep wounds into a blubbery chest. A successful leader can defend his beach against all rivals, making it a safe place for females to raise their pups. Only the largest males will get to mate, often with more than 30 females in his harem. It's not unusual for 5% of the bulls to do 85% of the mating, but that doesn't mean other males stop trying. It's tough at the top. Because he's busy either fighting or mating, a bull seldom gets a chance to eat. He can lose up to 25 pounds a day as he defends the females on his part of the beach. By the end of the breeding season, a bull will have lost up to 40% of his body weight and has to spend the rest of the year at sea fattening up for next year's battles. However, our next contender doesn't need to be big to dominate. She rules while sitting on a most unusual throne.
While our last two contenders have been big bulls and massive matriarchs, not all leaders are huge. In fact, this man is going to risk his life by impersonating a tiny queen. And later, we visit a throne room where the smell keeps the royal family under control. That's coming up next on Animal Planet's Number 3.
The next contender in our countdown of the most extreme leaders is a monarch who has a special way of getting what she wants. And she lives in a hole in the ground. This is the home of the naked mole rat. She's blind, bald, and definitely no beauty queen. But who needs fur and eyesight when you live all your life in a network of tunnels 3 feet beneath the plains of Africa? A colony consists of up to 300 individuals, and they're all ruled by a single queen. She's the only boss and the only breeder. The queen's kept continually pregnant by a select few of her sons, which is why the colony's highly inbred. She can give birth to a new litter every 12 weeks, live for more than 12 years, and produce more than 900 pups in her lifetime. And she makes sure that each and every one becomes her loyal subject. In a naked mole rat colony, Mother knows best. She patrols the vast system of dark underground tunnels and doles out punishment to subordinates. But the real secret to the queen's power is in her throne room. Being blind, mole rats recognize each other by smell, and they get their perfume from the communal bathroom, where they rub their bodies in the family feces. And this is where the queen leaves a royal decree. Her urine contains chemical pheromones that retard her subjects' reproductive organs, preventing them from mating. Strangely enough, a similar system is used by our last two contenders, only they're not mammals, they're insects.
Number 2.
Most people won't go near our next contender without some serious protective clothing. That's because this is a nest of the infamous killer bees. A swarm of these angry insects is one of nature's nightmares. So surely you'd have to be crazy to let 40,000 killer bees crawl all over your face. And yet, this man survived because he knew all about the leader at number 2 in the countdown, the queen bee. From the moment she's born, she's treated differently. This large cell contains a new queen. While most honeybee larvae are fed a 10% sugar solution, a young queen gets fed royal jelly that's 3 times more concentrated. Eventually, she leaves the colony to start a nest of her own. But first, the queen has to find a king. She mates with at least 12 different males, nature's way of ensuring the genetic variety needed to secure the future of her hive. Having successfully mated, the first generation of worker bees will soon be born. The queen communicates and rules her ever-expanding empire by releasing a complex cocktail of pheromones. When she needs to find a new nest, the queen's chemical message will tell her followers to crowd around her. The pheromones will keep the swarm together while scouts fly off to look for a new nest site. And if you can get your hands on this follow me pheromone, you too can become the Pied Piper of bees. And if you're brave enough, you can use the pheromone to create a suit of killer bees. The guy without the protective clothing is Ruud Kleinpast, a professional entomologist, so don't try this at home. First, his vulnerable areas are dabbed with a bee repellent, and his sleeves and cuffs are taped to prevent bees from crawling inside his clothes. Now it's time for the queen bee's chemical, which attracts the bees and reassures them that they don't need to attack. Fortunately for Ruud, the pheromones worked. He's wearing 40,000 killer bees that all think he's a rather large and hairy queen, thanks to his coating of swarming pheromone. Unfortunately, nobody's discovered a way to control the millions of bugs ruled by the most extreme leader in the countdown.
We've seen the 9 contenders. They're nature's most powerful rulers. Only one animal controls more followers. It's number 1, and it's coming up next on Animal Planets. Number 1.
The most extreme leader in the countdown lives inside a castle. Trapped in a chamber deep underground, she's blind, bloated, and 20,000 times bigger than her subjects. She's a termite queen. She's number 1 in the countdown because she reigns over 5 million of her offspring. Just like the honeybee, she uses pheromones to keep the colony running smoothly. The mother's pheromones suppress her daughter's fertility, meaning she's the only female able to lay eggs. Lots of eggs. The termite queen gives birth every 15 seconds. That's 30,000 new followers a day. And every single individual pledges complete allegiance to its mother, the queen. This complete dominance over millions of fellow termites is why, when it comes to leadership, the termite queen really is the most extreme.